The National Party meeting over net zero has broken, a marathon meeting. Let's go straight to the Deputy Leader of the party, David Littleproud. David, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, tell me, did it get heated or was it a whole heap of fun in there?
Somewhere in between. I think there was a lot of respect of the divergent views that were in the room. We obviously listened carefully to Angus as he presented much of the technology roadmap to them. And then obviously there was a question and answer period after that where we went into some of the detail. But it was very respectful. I think we all pretty well had an understanding of where people's positions were. There's still some more questions that need to be answered, and we're going to take our time to get it right. And that's what I think the room wanted to make sure is there'll be no agreement until such time as we get comfort to think that we could get to some agreement after just seeing a plan and then make a decision within 4 hours. I don't think would be responsible, in fact, be reckless. So we're actually going to come back and think about this and continue to probe the issue, because this will probably be one of the biggest decisions many of us will ever have to make while we're here. And so we want to make sure we get it right. We want to make sure we get this right, Chris, and we're not going to be rushed into it. We're going to make sure we take our time, we work through it and make sure we understand it, and particularly any impacts that there would be on regional and rural Australia.
Okay, you've got to be able to go back to your electorate and convince farmers and miners that if you go down the track of net zero by 2050, their lives and their livelihoods won't be adversely impacted. What did Angus Taylor come up with as far as measures in that regard that might offset any detriment from net zero?
Yeah, look, I have to be respectful to Angus. It's the technology roadmap and the plan is one that he's put together, and obviously at some point that'll become public. But for our perspective, it came to the National Party for our consideration. But we've already done much of the work. In fact, we are already on a trajectory of meeting much of our commitments, our international commitments, through technology. And I think, while they might say it's a three-word slogan, it actually has some currency around the work that's been done with carbon capture storage, what could happen with hydrogen. But the reality is we're still going to see coal being mined for some time to come. I mean, anyone realistic will see that. So if you're a coal miner in central Queensland, you shouldn't be shuttering in your boots tonight. You're still going to have a job. We're going to see those jobs. Coal exports go well into the 2040s, probably into the 2050s. And so this is more about what does it look like in 30 years' time. We've never been asked to come up with a plan that far out, and the technologies that we're embracing and the investment we're making in that and already have funded mean that gives us a fair understanding of that trajectory. But there's still more questions, particularly what that looks like in 30 years' time for regional Australia.
I can't tell you how many listeners of my radio program and viewers of my television show keep asking me to ask you and the like, are you talking about nuclear? Was that raised in that meeting?
Yeah, I think nuclear has always been something the National Party supported, but I think the broader community we need to bring with us, and I think it's important that we have that conversation and education. Sadly, I think where most people education of nuclear comes from is from Chernobyl and The Simpsons. And so what we've got to do is I think we've got to create an environment for a mature conversation. But we're not going to be able to do that in the next 48 hours and 2 weeks. I mean, the reality is that's going to take time, but I think we should create an environment that as a nation we have a mature conversation to educate ourselves on what nuclear energy looks like, and particularly the new advancements in technology and advancements around small-scale modular. I think that should give us more comfort, and as we see that starting to be progressed in Northern America, that should give us an insight into what that technology could do. So obviously we're very supportive of nuclear energy in the National Party, but we've got to make sure that the community and the country comes with us. And to do it too prematurely would actually put the case back rather than take it forward and progress it as a conversation and an opportunity for us into the future.
I know there's a realisation amongst the coalition that if you don't go down the track of 2050 net zero, you may lose the election because the polls are telling you that up to 80% of Australians want something done in that regard. They want that commitment to be made. But I wonder how much the Australian public are willing to pay more than $500 for it.
Well, I suspect not a lot. What I think, but is what we've demonstrated through what Angus Taylor's already done with picking those technologies that we want to try and advance to reduce emissions, like carbon capture storage. That means that our coal-fired power stations can continue, the gas industry will continue on, and we've reduced emissions. And this is the thing, is we've let the religion from both sides take over. Let's get back to first principles. First principles is about reducing emissions. And if we can reduce that with the existing resources and energy sources that we've got at the moment, then why wouldn't we do that? But if there's also an opportunity to progress new ones that bring competition and build on that and create even more jobs, then we should do that as a smart nation. We're exporting most of our resources, and that'll continue. The world isn't going to transition out of coal-fired power stations in a hurry, so everyone's got to take a chill pill and understand there's not going to be a drop-off next week or next month from coal-fired power stations or from mining. They're going to continue on. Mum and Dad are going to have jobs in the mining industry, whether that be coal or now into new precious minerals and metals. That's something that we have to talk pragmatically, take the religion out and talk openly and honestly with the Australian public about what's actually going to happen on the ground. What are the tactile things that are going to happen? The tactile things that are going to happen is we're going to keep digging coal out and we're going to keep exporting it. We're going to keep making money for our country. And if we can create technology that reduces emissions using that here in Australia and somewhere else in the world, well, why wouldn't we be at the forefront of that? And that's what we're trying to do in partnering with the United States in carbon capture storage and other technologies as well, like hydrogen.
Yeah. David Littleproud, thank you so much for coming on so immediately after the meeting. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, mate.
All right.